Let me tell you what we are not discussing enough. Are you ready? It is called Generation Alpha. That would be kids born between 2010 and 2024. They are the first generation to grow up completely with streaming services, online, schooling online, completely surrounded by technology. Now, we've been hearing a lot about Gen Z and been talking about that, I feel like, for years, but we haven't been talking about this Generation Alpha. We have to. I'll tell you why. Recently, it was reported just a couple of days ago that 13% of kids are on this adult content on Twitter. I'm wrapping my mind around this. I just walked in again from the mean streets of New York City, and I'm inundated being out at meetings for a couple of hours, and I'm simply digressing here. And then coming back, it's like a couple of hours of not being at it, and things are piling up. But let me get back on track here and talk about this Generation Alpha. We know that 30%, this is what was reported this week, 30% of 7 to 9-year-olds are on X. I'm still calling it Twitter. 30%. Now, why are 30% of 7 to 9-year-olds on Twitter? Well, apparently, and I just told you, this Generation Alpha, they are completely exposed to everything technology, and they're called iPad kids, these Generation Alphas. They are referred to as, I'm just hearing this actually for the first time, iPad kids. The iPad fairly recently integrated with Google. So kids using their iPads for entertainment and all else may stumble upon in their Google search X, Twitter. Now we know, let me get back to that 13%. I know it's higher. I'm disagreeing with this study, but we'll go with it because it's quoted as part of the article. 13% of the content on X is adult content. I think it's higher, don't you? But here's what I want to say. This being on the devices, we have certainly talked about it here in the Warriors. You're hearing more things in mainstream media, even online, has led our Generation Alpha, the iPad kids, to what? Lethargy, more allergies, isolation, and obesity. So it is up to us to be that warrior. Now, I say this all the time, but I find it shocking because the ages are getting younger and younger. We're talking about 7 to 9-year-olds. I can't tell you when to give your child an iPad. I can't tell you when to buy a device for your child, a phone. But think about what I just told you. If this Generation Alpha, again, 2010 to 2024, and they were born during that whole COVID period, this is what they're dealing with. So basically, if they're 14 right now at the high end, can you imagine what they're going to be like, these kids, when they get a little older? What are we doing here, everybody? So while everybody's distracted by interviews they're watching on TV and upcoming debates and all that stuff, which is important, I say we need to focus more on this. These are the type of questions I would have liked to ask certain candidates running about safety for families, safety for kids, technology. Where are we going with all of this? Because it is completely frightening. This is what we need to focus on. I will never, here at the Warriors, and we're not going to ask, we're not going to tell you how to vote. I'm always going to say to you, though, think about all of what we talk about here on the Warriors. It is the most important. Not all that other fluff and nonsense, because that's going nowhere, but that we have to take action, because these are our children, these are our families. So think about when you're voting, who is the best candidate for our children, for our families, for their safety, whether in real time or online. But when I say I'm even shocked that succeeding this Gen Z that we seem to be talking a lot about and all their problems, we've got the Generation Alpha, the iPad kids. And I'm not hearing a lot of talk about them, but think about it. Let me leave you with this. 30% of 7 to 9-year-olds are on X, on Twitter. I see content on Twitter every single day that horrifies me. I'm not even looking for it. It just comes to me. So can you imagine what the kids who are innocently, remember, they get their entertainment, they watch shows and things like that. They're not into the traditional TV like we were as kids. They grew up with streaming. They're getting it on their iPad, on their phone, on their laptop, especially the iPad. And when I think about it now, yes, I have seen a lot of kids in that age bracket in restaurants, on the iPad, waiting for their moms by dressing rooms. I've seen all kinds of iPads. Now that I really am taking a moment to think about this, so we're handing the kids this device as a form of babysitting entertainment. We got to be careful. Because remember, wherever the kids are, so are the predators. I'm urging all of you. I'll put information in the body of this video. Let's think about this. Because what will I be reporting to you next in a couple of months? That we've got 4 to 6-year-olds, on OnlyFans? I don't know. I'd like to say I'm exaggerating, but I don't think so. Remember, everyone, come together. Our hashtag at The Warriors is Community Creates Change. We are up for the election of our lifetimes, in my opinion. Think about safety for children and families. Think about borders. Think about technology. Think about education. And I leave it up to you. Thank you always for following along, volunteering, donating. Make sure you're subscribed to these videos. We need to build numbers. We need to build our algorithms. We need to get to the head of the pack. So I'm not embarrassed to say, make sure you are subscribed, because recently I also found out people are getting unsubscribed. I don't know. People don't know how. So with that, watch the kids. Learn about this Generation Alpha. If you're a grandma, grandpa, parents, let us come together. Let us learn from each other and wake up each and every day without a doubt and say to yourself, it's time to go out and be a warrior.